Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. My name is Isaac, and I work at the Jersey City Public Library here at the Oral Mergen branch, and I'm going to be facilitating this college preparation course. Um, your test presenter is Erica Ezafetti, so I'll let you take it from here, and tell us a little bit about you, and where you went to school, and you know, just take it away from here.
All right. Hi, everyone. How are you? I know some people are muted, so it's okay if you don't say hi. Yes, like Isaac said, my name is Erica. I've been tutoring for a while now. I'll say about 10 years. The levels I've tutored during that time have ranged from elementary school all the way to college. So, oh, I thought you were going to say something, Isaac. Okay. So I do have a wide range of things I've tutored. As far as college goes, I've tutored writing and more like the sciences and stuff like that. So we are going to start talking about the SAT, the importance of the SAT. So this is with Google Classroom. And I know, learning is like virtual now, so you guys may be familiar with Google Classroom already. So then I can put that again at the end of the classroom. So add yourself there and, we can discuss things as you need to. Do we know the basic structure of the SAT? We'd like to go over it, okay? So, there's the reading test, the writing and language test, math test, and the SAT essay. The SAT essay, as some of you may know, is optional, but I do think that some schools prefer or require it. So if you want to know whether to, try studying for that, definitely look into your list of schools that you want to go to and see what they recommend or require on their admissions pages. So as far as practice, we're going to start off by using Khan Academy. Some of you may be familiar with that because it's, I know there's a lot of virtual learning going on. We're gonna mix different practice questions and stuff. So today we can use Khan Academy, next week it might be something else, just to get some diverse resources so we can kind of get like the best of all worlds possible in terms of practice problems and stuff. Khan Academy actually partnered with the official makers of the SAT College Board, so it has some like more official questions and stuff, so that's why I think it's a good resource for us to use. So, okay, see, we have some in the chat. That's true, Divya. I definitely think that, so Divya was just saying that many colleges don't require the essay, but it's good to show how dedicated you are. And I definitely think that it's a good point. So definitely something to keep in mind. We're gonna cover it anyway at some point. So, and if we want more practice with that, you can just let me know, always feel free to send me any recommendations, any questions, anything like that. My email is open. So wait 1 second, I'm trying to move this little thing here. So what was I speaking about? Yes, so if you have a Khan Academy account, which you probably do, I also have a class on there. I'll send you guys in an invite for the SAT prep class that I'm covering on there. So we can just all see like what we're working on and stuff like that. Now, I would recommend, if you haven't already, that, okay, let me go to my dashboard. I'm signed in as a student here. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right. And yeah, Divya, if you guys don't feel like unmuting yourselves, you can always do the little like thumbs up icon thing. Oops, sorry. So I recommend, let's say you have, okay. So I would say that it's good before you even start doing practice problems to try to do, try to make a schedule for when you want to study. Pardon me. Try to do, we could start off with just doing 15 minutes a day. If you do 15 minutes a day for 5 days a week, that will be an hour and a quarter hours per week that you've dedicated to SAT prep. You can start off with that so you can get used to doing, work outside of your schoolwork. And I would also say that if you haven't already, go to this Khan Academy website, register, and so I'm on my dashboard here for the SAT practice. Actually, let me rewind and show you how to get here in case you don't know. So let me go to my home screen. So I just hit Khan Academy. I'm already logged in. That's my little login icon. So I'm going to go to the left under my stuff and I'm going to hit SAT. So let me minimize this. Now, so here, just one thing to click. I'm going to hit practice. So here, I'm going to say that it would be great to start with a practice exam. It's the very first option. Now, this breaks it down into the sections, right? So we have the reading section, which has 52 questions, and they have a great time. Should you start fresh or continue from the milestone you're in? You could start, I don't know how, Divya, how far along are you?
Oh, well, here it shows me that I'm on Milestone 2 and I'm on the 3rd section. I'm almost to the Milestone 3.
Okay, Milestone 2. I feel like you can continue. If you want to start over, you can. I mean, starting over will just be more practice for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, that might be because they give you new questions, I believe. I don't know how many times you can refresh the questions, but then you can kind of like work with everyone. So it might be, I'll leave that decision up to you, but it might be better just to start fresh since you're only on Milestone 2. That way you get, more practice anyway.
Right, I'll start fresh. Thank you.
No problem. So, okay, so with the practice test, it's easy to be overwhelmed because it's like 52 questions, 44 questions, and so on and so on. But I would say that you can break the practice test up. You could try to do half and then come back and do the rest of it later. It's really just to test how how well you do it first without timed conditions. But these little icons on the left help you to know, how much time each section is, so you get used to it. I will say, do the practice test first, and then see how you do. And I'll say, I'll give us a couple weeks to do the practice test as a group, to complete the whole thing, the first practice test. So this is going to let you know where you should start studying, where you should focus your efforts. So, just writing this down. So once you do your practice test, of course you can practice in between, but once you do your practice test, that'll be like a diagnostic for what you need to work on. Then after you complete that, we'll, be going through practice problems and stuff like that. We will then take a practice test under more realistic time conditions. They call it under test conditions, so that you can get used to how the test would actually be. I know with COVID-19 and everything, some things have changed. I think they're still doing the test in person, but you have to check with wherever you're testing to see what their requirements are. So there's that. Okay, I'm gonna go back. Let me see if I can move this little thing. So we can go ahead and get into some math. Try to ignore the answer. Hold on one second. Okay, so we're just starting with linear equations. So our problem is, I don't know if you guys have like a piece of paper or anything. I would say with math, algebra, I always write everything down. Let me just make sure I wrote this down correctly. So we are trying to figure out what is the value of L. We have the answer already right there because I did it earlier, but we're going to ignore that. So I write everything down, and each time I change something, I rewrite the rest of the equation that I did not change. So here we're trying to figure out what L is. Does anyone have an idea of what to do first? Just so I can get an idea of like where you guys are and everything like that.
Combine the like terms.
Combine the like terms, right? So I would say, which like terms, Divya?
100L plus 100L.
Yep. So if I'm gonna combine those like terms, I'm going to rewrite everything else I'm not changing because I like to change one thing at a time for math. It just makes things much simpler. It might seem tedious at first, but it just helps a lot later, especially if you make a mistake, you can easily go back. I have a chat comment. Let me just pause and see what's being said. Oops. Distribute the 10 with the numbers in the parentheses. Okay. So you're saying after we combine. Well, one thing though, that's a good guess as to what to do. But for the second thing we do, so we already combined these like terms. Actually, sorry, we combined these like terms and we got 200L. But here's the thing, the next thing we have to do, if we're going to do anything on this side, we have to remember a rule. PEMDAS, right? So PEMDAS is the order of operations. So what does that mean? That means that if you're ever confused, well, not just if you're confused, But in terms of solving math problems, you always have to follow PEMDAS. You always have to follow the order of operations, even when it kind of seems like you are not supposed to. Because sometimes when we're faced with like kind of like weird looking problems, like fractions or things like that, we can refer back to PEMDAS and it'll tell us what to do first. So in this case, hold on, I had a comment.
Screen.
Oh, could you not see it?
No.
I'm so sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, I'll restate what I just said because I didn't realize I was not sharing my screen. And definitely, guys, don't be shy. You can speak out while I'm speaking respectfully. And let me know if I'm not sharing my screen, if I'm speaking too quickly, if you can't hear me, don't be shy. Okay, so just going to go back to the beginning. Divya was right, we combine these two like terms. We know they're like terms because, well, they're exactly alike, but even if the hundreds, say if this was 100 plus 200, we know they're like terms because of this L. They're both being multiplied by L. So we combine these like terms, we got 200L. And of course, I went ahead and wrote everything out on the other side of the equal sign because I don't want to confuse myself later and I want to keep everything neat and organized. Now, someone mentioned we might distribute the 10 to the inside of the parentheses. We were just going over PEMDAS, which is the order of operations. PEMDAS, if we don't remember, means parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So with math, we always follow these rules. And also, if you're ever confused about the next step in a math rule, remember to write this down and work it out. Remind yourself. So, pardon me. So the next thing we do with PEMDAS is we look inside the parentheses. What's inside the parentheses? We have 10. 23 plus 7 is 30. So I'm going to put 30 equals, just going to copy this as it is, 200L. So what do we think is the next thing that we do here?
We're gonna multiply 10.
Multiplication.
Multiplication.
10 times 30 100.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, you guys may or may not know, but multiplying by 10 is fairly easy. Just add the 0 to whatever you're multiplying by. So since we're multiplying by 30, add the 0, we get 300. All right, cool. So this is what we changed. We only changed this one thing, and I only changed one thing at a time. So I'm going to write the rest of the other side of the equal sign, copy it just as it is. So now, according to PEMDAS, what do? We're trying to isolate the L. So how do we isolate the L?
Dividing.
Divide what?
200 on both sides.
Right. Why do you divide 200 by both sides?
Because 200 divided by 200 will equal 1.
Right.
Cross them out.
Yeah, that's true. So one interesting thing to think of, when you're doing algebra, and I'm just going to give you like random tips and stuff. Sometimes they might seem basic and you understand them, but I'm just trying to show you guys different ways to look at things because it might help you in the long run. And it might help someone else, think of it in a different way. So we divided by 200. We're going to divide this by 200. So I'm going to do that because my screen is a little limited. So I hope that's not confusing for anyone. So we're dividing by 200 because that would isolate the L. Now we divide because when you want to isolate a letter in algebra, you want to do the opposite to it that is being done to it. So let me erase this really quickly and show you what I mean. So we have 300 equals 200L. Now, what is being done to this L right here?
Isolated.
Sorry?
It's being isolated.
No, I mean, before we isolate it, we just want to look at what's being done to it right in this moment,
Oh, it's being multiplied by 200.
right? So what is the opposite of multiplying by 200? Divya, let's try to let somebody answer. Somebody else answer, if anyone else has an answer.
Repeat the question again, please.
Repeat the question? Sure. So I was just explaining, this will help you in general. This is like in more complicated problems. This is a somewhat simple problem for some people, maybe a little harder for other people. But when you want to isolate a letter in algebra and algebraic problems, you want to start to think of what's being done to that letter so that you can undo that. So before we get to the undoing, we're talking about what is being done to the L right here in this part. And if you guys don't understand my question, feel free to ask me to rephrase it or anything like that.
So what I will do to solve that part of the problem is just divide 200 in both sides, because 200 divided by 200, it's 1. So 1 is technically invisible next to the L. And then in the other side will just be 300 divided by 200.
That's true, yes. Yes, so just so we know, we're dividing by 200 because right here, the L is being multiplied by 200. So to isolate the L, we need to do the opposite of what's being done to it right here. So if right here it's being multiplied by 200, that means the opposite of that would be to be divided by 200. So if we divide this by 200, the 200s cancel out, as Divya and Brianna said. And so then if we do one thing to one side of the equation, we know we have to do the same thing to the other side of the equation to make sure we're not messing up our equation, basically. So now we have 300 divided by 200 equals 200, equals L. I was just starting to copy what I saw. Now, how do we simplify this? Anyone can answer, but let's take 5 seconds and then answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so how do we simplify this fraction to get L?
Both of the numbers are divisible by 100, so we can just simplify them into 3/2.
Yep. 3/2 equals L. So that is our answer. Yay, I already did it. So let's go to the next one. Will this still let me? Yes, okay. So 1 second, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Just getting the next problem, trying not to show the answer. Okay, 1 second. Sorry, it's not an exact copy, so I have to fix it. H, negative H. Oh my goodness. Constant. Thought I would be able to copy and paste it, but that's not working, so I have to kind of type it out myself. I apologize. Equation above H is a constant. P equals 10 is a solution to the equation. H is a constant. P. Okay. So our next problem is negative P plus 60 equals negative H plus 10,000. So if H is a constant, a constant means that it's a number, it's a regular number that doesn't change. So if H is a constant, if P equals 10 is a solution to the equation, what is the value of H? So what do we do here? Oh, you can go ahead, sorry.
Okay. So you're gonna plug in 10 into P for P substitution.
I'm sorry, can you speak a little louder?
Yeah, you can substitute 10 for P.
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna substitute 10 for P. So, as always, I like to change only one thing at a time. I'm just gonna copy this. Now, it can be a little tricky sometimes to substitute more than we should. And by that I mean, if we look, it says, wait, let me make sure. Yeah, I'm sharing my screen, okay. If we look, it says that P equals 10. So when you do algebra and these math problems, only copy exactly what they tell you. Don't try to skip ahead or do steps in your head or anything like that, because that's where you can start to mess up. So if P equals 10, like it says right here, I'm going to put 10 exactly where P is. So P is here, so I'm going to put 10 here. I say that because it's easy to make the mistake of just replacing this entirely and putting 10. But it's not that, because it's negative P, and P is 10, so it's negative 10. Okay, so negative 10 plus 60 equals negative H plus 10,000. So what's the next step we do?
Do we solve negative 10 plus 60?
Say that first part again, I'm sorry.
Do we solve negative 10 plus 60 first,
Yeah,
or do
we
we do the other side? Okay.
Yeah, do you have the answer for that?
We do negative 10 plus 60 first.
Mm-hmm. What would that be?
That would be 50.
Yep. So, of course, again, I'm only going to change one thing. So now we have 50 equals negative h plus 10,000. What's the next thing we do?
Subtract 10,000 to both sides.
Yeah. So I have 50 on the left side of the equation. So I'm gonna do 50 minus 10,000 equals negative h plus 10,000 minus 10,000. So what do we get on each side? What do we get on, well, yeah, what do we get on the left side?
9,950. Negative 9,950.
Equals what?
Negative h.
Negative h. Okay, sounds good. So, sorry. So what do we do next?
Divide by -1 on both sides because there's an invisible 1 for the negative h. Yeah.
So we're going to divide by -1. Sorry. From both sides.
Wait, excuse me, I actually have a question.
Yeah.
So for the step after we solve -10 plus 60 and we do the minus 10,000, how do you know which to do first? Because my automatic response was just to subtract 50 from 10,000 on the other side. How do you know which side to go at first?
Okay, so you're saying like in the beginning you want, you said in the beginning you want to subtract 50 from this step right here that I highlighted?
Yes.
You can keep your mic unmuted just in case I have to ask you a question again.
Okay.
So you want to know, why don't we subtract 50 from both sides right here, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this down here to explore that. Just going to copy it here. Okay, let's say we subtract 50 from both sides. So minus 50, minus 50. So what will we get? On the left side of the equation, what do we get? 50 minus 50?
0.
0. So on the right side of the equation, what do we get?
9,950.
And what else?
What do you mean? Oh, H? No.
Yeah, but what H, but what kind of H?
A negative H?
Negative H. Okay, so where would you go from this step?
I actually do not know.
So with algebra, you always want, hold on one second, I have to sneeze. Excuse me, I'm back. Okay, with algebra, we're trying to figure out, let's refer back to our question. It says in the equation above, H is a constant. If P is a solution to the equation, what is the value of H? So sometimes when we have all these like words and math and numbers and problems, it's easy to forget and get boggled down on the steps. It's easy to forget what we're trying to do. So it's helpful to remind yourselves what your end goal, what end goal do you want? So what end goal are we trying to get here? What's our ultimate goal or question we're trying to answer in this problem?
Find the value of h.
Yeah.
The value of, sorry, say that again?
Find the value of h, positive h.
Right. Dinesha, you were the one asking about this particular question, right?
Yes.
Did I say your name correctly?
Yes, you did.
Dinesha, okay. So So do you understand why we're trying to find the value of h, or should we explore that a little bit?
I understand. It's just that usually when I do like problems like these, I always get stuck on which side to go at first, and then I'm just dumped for the rest of the problem, and usually stuck. So I just wanted to know like how to go about that process, because when I do the SAT practices, I always get like these certain problems wrong alongside the word problems. So I just wanted to know like some help on that assistance.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so for this little line of questioning, I'm going to be speaking to you specifically, so you can keep your mic unmuted.
Okay.
So because I want to solve this, problem for you, and then I'll open it back up to everyone else in terms of answering questions. So right here, what we have so far, you said you understand how we got here, right? Or do we need to rewind?
Yes, I understand how we got there.
Okay, cool. So now remember so this is where you would get stuck usually, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you ever get stuck, remember what the ultimate goal of the question is, like what we're trying to find out. So even if it seems like super obvious, just restate it to yourself. So what are we trying to figure out for this problem?
Finding the value of h.
The value of h, right. So the value of h. So when we say, if we want to say the value of h, one thing sometimes with math problems, it's kind of just translating it from math problem, like math language, to language we usually speak. That makes sense?
It does.
It does. Let me know if I don't make sense, because I'll be rambling and stuff, so let me know.
Okay.
So don't ever feel like any question, just ask whatever you feel you have a question on. So value of h. So what's another way to say the value of h? Let's say this is like a math way of saying it, right? The value of h. What if we said it in a regular speaking, like I'm speaking to you, Danisha?
What's the answer?
Sorry?
What's the answer of h could be like a possible?
Yeah. What is the answer of h? Or I'll give you another like slightly more simple one. What is h? Right?
Yes.
That makes sense? Okay. So now, what is h? When we say is, that means is the same as equal to. So what is an apple? An apple is a fruit. So if I wanted to translate what is an apple is a fruit, that's the regular way we speak. How do I make that into a math term? How do I make that more mathy? I could say apple let's say apple equals fruit. Because equal is just a math way of saying is.
Okay. I got that.
Equal is the same as is. Does that make sense? That sounded funny when I said it.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So now we said all that. Equal is the same as is. So when I have an equal sign, the equal sign means is. So I'm going to restate the question. What is the value of h? What is h equal to? So I could rewrite that and say that h equals what? So when you get stuck, it's good to like rewind and kind of remember like what you're trying to answer, what you're trying to figure out. So we're trying to figure out what h is equal to, or in a math term, h equals what? H equals question mark. So with math, we're literally just like going to, can I do this? Oh no. With math, we're literally just going to try to make our math, because we're trying to answer this question, h equals what? You can even write this down. Once we figure out what we're trying to solve, I gave all that apple and stuff just as an analogy. You can write down h equals what? We're going to try to fit the problem and make it look like we're going to put it into the form of h equals what?
So would that mean that 9,950 equals 0 is h? Because the way the problem is set up from what I've said.
Say that again. Let me type out what you said. Say that again.
Would that mean that 9,950 equals 0 is h because of the way the problem is set up?
Equals 0 equals h. Is this what you're saying?
Yes, because it says, well, negative h and 9,950, but if it's h equal to, wouldn't you have to like switch over the problem so it could look better?
Yeah, I think, yeah, we do need to make it look better. It looks raggedy. So I think you're going along the right method. So we do have to switch some things over. So I'm gonna just move this up here. We want to get to, and delete it here. Okay, so we want to get the problem in this format right here, h equals something. Right now we have 0 equals 9,950 minus h. So it's kind of far from how we want the structure, how we want the answer to look. So what we do is we need to get this h on one side of the equation symbol by itself, because we want to know just purely what h is. We don't want to know what negative h is. We don't want to know what h is minus 9,950. We just want h by itself. So we want to isolate the h. So I'm also going to say PEMDAS. We always have to go by the order of operations. So, excuse me. So Danesha, if we're right here, so you said this is where we usually get stuck. So if we're right here, where do we start to start trying to get the h by itself, just the pure h by itself? What's one thing you think we might be able to do?
You can either add h, which I would usually go for, or I would subtract 0 for some reason, usually. But I think adding h will look better.
So add h how? How are we adding h? Do I add it just to this side here? Do I add it to the 0 as well? Or do I just add it to the 0? What do I do?
Add to everything to the left.
So everything to the left of the equal sign?
8. So 9,950 and 0. Both of those two numbers.
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
So 9,950 and 0, so you add h to both of those numbers.
So we're thinking more, okay, so when you're looking at an equation like this, you have something on one side of the equal sign, and then you have something on another side of the equal sign. You want to look at the whole group of the whole equation. So you kind of group, because this is on the right side of the equal sign, you kind of group this together. in a way. Since 0 is by itself, it's just 0 on the left side. So you want to think of left and right of the equal sign. So what you do to one side of the equal sign, you do to the other. So we're not adding h to 9,950 so much as we're adding h to the right side of the equal sign. So we're going to add h to the right side of the equal sign. I'm going to put it in the parentheses to separate it so you can see how I'm adding it. So you can kind of see we're separating, we're thinking in terms of left of the equal sign versus right of the equal sign. So on the left side of the equal sign, now that we've added h, what do we have next, Anisha? Like, let's just write it out like what we have.
H equal 9,950, and then minus h.
Minus h?
Yeah, I think so. I might be wrong, but
What did you do with the plus h here?
because isn't it a negative, positive, another negative?
So negative and positive are opposites of each other. So opposites cancel. And you always combine like terms. So when you say like terms, you want to see if something has the same letters on it for algebra, you're going to combine those. So if I combine negative h plus h, what do I get?
Positive h.
So you can think of it, if you're ever confused or if you ever want to check your math, sorry, you can just substitute 1 in a problem. So let's substitute, excuse me. Let's substitute 1 into h really quickly down here. So I have -1 plus 1. What does that equal?
0.
Right. So that means that negative h plus h equals
0.
Yep. So then we have h equals what?
9,950.
So let's take a step back and see, do we have the structure that we wanted?
Yes.
Right. So how do you feel about that?
I get it. I'm gonna write it down so I can remember it, but I don't know if I'll be able to do it in a test setting. Like when I do practice tests, I usually like forget the most important steps and like the signs, like the integer steps.
Do you write things out step by step, or do you skip writing certain things?
I write it out step by step. Like when I get a question wrong on SAT practices, like they usually have 5 questions or 13 questions for like a mini quiz. I write the ones I get wrong, like from the question all the way down to the steps they provide. And usually when I do the tests and I look at the steps, it's still difficult to retain that information and actually get the answer for the problem.
Okay, so I would say instead of doing the practice test, I think you should do actual just practice problems on your weak spots. Did you already do a full-length practice test?
Yes, I did. And I do practices too. Like I started off with 10 minutes and then I did 15 minutes and now currently I'm doing 20 minutes and I'm working on like all of the math that I did wrong and all the reading comprehension and the writing that I also lacked in. And I'm doing that.
Okay, so I think you should definitely, let me see, copy this. Let me just, I think you're added to my classroom thing on Google. So I think what you should do, and anyone else who's having similar issues, is as you're going through each step, kind of constantly remind yourself what the goal of the problem is. And as you do it more and more, you'll do it quicker and quicker. Because I know that sounds kind of like hard and it's like take too long and stuff, but the more you practice it, the quicker you'll be at it. I promise, because I used to be like that too, you know. Yeah. It sounds like a lot at first, but once you start practicing, you'll get it.
Okay.
So, and then send me questions and stuff. I haven't used Google Classroom because I am not used to tutoring this I'm used to tutoring this in person. So there's a little learning curve. I have to get used to everything, but definitely you can ask questions on there and stuff like that.
I also want to make a suggestion.
Mhm.
Because I remember doing this math in high school. I think what's important, if you, one, continue to do it as you're saying, but also check the steps. So every time you do a step, go back to make sure that that step makes sense. Because sometimes you can catch these mistakes early on, but if you wait to the end and then try to go back, sometimes you can get confused on where you went wrong, right?
Yes.
So it's like 5 steps here, well, 4 steps here. So if you continue to go back to step 3, to step 2, and ask yourself, does these steps make sense, right? Does something look funny here? And sometimes you can catch it when when you're double checking yourself.
Yeah, that's what usually happens. Like when I get the problem wrong, the steps clearly show where I got wrong, and then I check my own work that I did when I written down the problem, and I see the problem that I made, and it's so obvious looking at it.
And another thing, the more you do it, because with math, it's, for me, it was just repetition. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think, just try different things and see what works for you. Try different tips. Let's say you have a couple tips. We just gave you a couple tips. Try one tip, do a few problems, see how you do. If it works, if it kind of doesn't, try the second tip, do a few problems, see how you do. And that way you can see what works best for your learning style. But we can also discuss that more a little later as well.
Okay.
So, let me just make sure. I believe I have you on my thing. One second. Sorry. Oh, my computer's so. So I'll share that again at the end. And as far as structure goes, I think, and this is the first session, so I think we're going to do probably, depending on the topic we do, we're going to cover the topic, say if it's reading, say if it's math, say if it's essay writing, whichever. We'll probably go over like a couple topics per session, and then we'll leave like 20 minutes at the end, excuse me, if you need a little extra help, so that we kind of have the general lesson first, and then this is for everybody. And then, okay, I see you on there, Dinesha. See, I'm still working out the structure and everything, and I don't know what level everyone is at, so I'm still, learning where everyone is. The chat. Oh, yeah. So we have 2 ways that we can solve this. As long as you keep everything the same on each side of the equal sign, you're going to get the right answer. But sometimes if you decide to go one path, it's just a little harder to do. So with Dinesha, we after we got to this step right here, we subtracted 50. We subtracted 50. instead of, sorry. So after the step right here, which is the second step, we subtracted 50 down here. Oops, sorry. Down here with the Naisha, instead of subtracting 10,000 like we did in this third step up here. So we were just about to finish this step, this path up here. So just to reiterate, we put the 10 where P was, negative 10 plus 60 equals so on. So we got 50 equals negative H plus 10,000. We subtracted 10,000 from both sides of the equal sign. We always have to do the same thing on each side of the equal sign. So then we got negative 9,950. So now, because this H is negative, we want to get rid of that negative because we want to just find out what H is. That was the goal of our question. So what is the value of H? It didn't say what is the value of negative H. So to do that, I believe Divya suggested we divide by -1 to get rid of the negative sign, which is right. So divided by -1, we have 9,950 equals H. So if we just turn things around, H equals 9,950. We can do that because we didn't change anything on either side of the equal sign. So although it looks different, it looks backwards, it's the same equation. So if we notice when we were working out Dinasia's little moment of confusion, we'll see that we got the same structure and we got the same answer, but we used two different ways. Hold on, I'm trying to scroll. See, we got the same answer, but we used two different things. But the thing is, we got the same answer because we made sure to pay attention to the equal sign and make sure that whatever we did on one side, we did on the other. So I'm going to erase some of this. Just want to get to the top here. Alrighty. Actually, hold on. Okay, I'm going to pull up the next question. I'm going to temporarily stop sharing my screen. 1 second. Alrighty, our next problem, 15x minus 3 equals 9x plus 1. I'll give you guys a few seconds to write that down. I suggest writing out math problems always, step by step. It just makes things easier on yourself. All right, does everyone have that written down? You can do a thumbs up thing. Thank you, Divya. Cool, cool, cool. Ahmad, hey Ahmad. All right. Looks like we're mostly good, so I'll go ahead. So, which of the following is a solution to the equation shown above? So, I want to know, first things first, what is this question asking me? Anyone can speak.
So by
Sorry, say that again.
you have to find the value of x.
The value of x. Right. Sounds good. We know it's the value of x because all the other numbers are there. So the only thing we don't know is the value of x. So what the question is asking us, let's say it in terms of, in math terms. So we're trying to find x equals what? So we're going to try to put the format of our answer, we're trying to get it to look like that, to look like this. But of course the question mark is going to have a number, obviously. So we're going to always keep in mind PEMDAS, which is the order of operations. So now we're going to go from there. What's the first thing we're going to do? Anyone can speak.
Subtract 9x to both sides so you can get the x's together.
Yeah, that sounds good. So Divya, right? That's who said that. Yes, that's what I thought. So Divya suggests that we try to get these x's together to make life more simple for us. I think that'll work, right? So what we're gonna do, I'm only gonna change one thing at a time. So we're gonna keep in mind where the equal sign is. Let me just copy this. Now, if So how did you phrase it, Divya? How did you phrase it?
I said to subtract 9x to both sides so that x's could be together.
Okay, good idea. So we're going to subtract 9x from both sides. And when we say both sides, we're talking both sides of the equal sign. So let's start on the right side of the equal sign, because that's where my cursor is at the moment. So I'm going to subtract 9x from that side, and then I have to keep it equal, or else I will mess up the equation. I'll mess up my answer. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Oops, let me put the negative. So let me just scooch this up a little bit so I don't run out of space. So 15x minus 3 minus 9x equals 9x plus 1 minus 9x. So how does this simplify?
It simplifies to 6x minus 3 equals 1.
Right. So what we're going to do, just in case anyone's confused, we're going to combine like terms. Like terms means that they have the same letter on them, basically. When you say in algebra like terms, it means the same letter. So on this side, that is the left side of the equation sign, the things with like terms are 15x and negative 9x. So we're just going to put those together and solve it. So 15x minus 9x is 6x. So for the right side, of the equation sign, we're going to do the same thing. I'm just breaking this down by steps so everyone understands. I'm going to put it all together in a second. So our like terms on this side are 9x minus 9x. That equals 0. So let's rewrite what we have. We have 6x, which we got from 15x minus 9x. We're going to put it back together. Equals, oh, sorry, not equals, minus 3 equals 1. So what's the next thing that we do?
We add 3 to the other side.
We add 3 to the other side. So I'm going to add, oops, burp, burp, burp. We add 3 to the other side. Is that all we do?
And also to the same side as the -3, so it can cancel out.
Okay. Because we're undoing what's being done to the variable. The variable is x. So step by step, we're going to get to the answer, which is going to be in the form of x equals blank. We're going to slowly take away what is being done to this x, just so we get to purely what x is. So we'll start by, well, we already started by combining like terms, but the next step is to, since 6x is being, you're subtracting 3 from 6x, you're going to add 3 because that is the opposite of subtracting. And of course, you want to do the same thing to both sides. So now we have 6x. -3 and a +3 cancel out. So we say equals 1 + 3 is 4. Okay, we still don't have this format that we're looking for right here, x equals blank. So what's the next step we do to try to get to that format?
We divide 6 to both sides.
We divide both sides by 6.
Mhm.
That's right, because the x is being multiplied by 6. The opposite of multiplication is division. So to try to isolate that x, we're going to divide by 6. Then we're going to divide the other side of the equation sign by 6, because we have to keep things equal. So we get x equals 4 divided by 6. So are we done? Or do we have one more thing we can do?
You can still to simplify it,
Simplify it. How do you know you can simplify it?
because both numbers are divisible by 2.
Right. So, okay, we have x equals, how would that simplify? So we have 4 over 6.
2 over 3.
Right. 2 over 3. Sounds good. Does anyone want me to email them what we work out? Just looking at people's responses. Okay. So,
Do you mean like the problems that you go over?
yes,
Okay.
that's what I meant. I can't, hold on, I can't see everyone's thing at once, so. Okay, I still can't see everyone's thing at once, but let's see. Just copy this. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for 1 second. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. This will be our last question for today. And then we're gonna go over some other things before we end.
So what is the schedule like?
The schedule, what do you mean, like when we're meeting?
No, like for the class, like when are we gonna do reading? When are we gonna do writing? When are we gonna do like the subjects?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, like the itinerary. I can email that to you. I can also change it around. Like if you added yourself to the, I see you added yourself to the Google Classroom, so I can post that and let you know. I can also change it around, again, based on what everyone needs. So it's open to being changed if I see
Oh, like
you
you're
guys
gonna check
need.
our diagnostic test after a couple of days, and then you'll. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I'll share that with you, and I'll share again for the people that added themselves after, I will share my login again. So we're gonna end around 4. And the next sessions don't necessarily have to be this long, but since we were trying to kind of figure things out, it took a little longer. So this next question probably won't take super long. I might go a little faster just so we can end at around 4. Okay, 1 second. do, 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 do. Oh, sorry, I thought someone asked me a question. Sorry. Equation has. All right. Okay. So the problem is 4 plus 5m equals 4m plus 1 plus m. I'm going to give you a few seconds to write that down on your paper, piece of paper that you're using, or your notebook, and then I will start to do it. I'm actually going to get some water really quickly because I've been talking a lot, so give me 1 second. Be right back. Excuse me. Everyone good to go? Thank you, Brianna. All right, I'll go ahead. So, what are we trying to figure out here? Okay, let me read the question first. Which of the following best describes the solution set to the equation shown above? These are the answer choices, by the way. I had to type them out because I thought that would be more helpful to learning. So what is this question asking? Anyone can speak.
I really don't know. I was about to say something and then I was like, nope, I don't know.
You can say it.
Well,
Might be right.
I was gonna say like you have to find the value of m, but if there isn't one solution, then you have to like, okay, so like they're asking if there's a solution or not, and how many. I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, what you said first was correct as well. This is just another way of kind of asking you to find what m is. So sometimes these things will look more confusing than they are, but once you just read the question and take it slowly, you'll realize that it's asking you, you know, something kind of simple or something that you've done before. So let me see, I have to blow my nose, give me one. Okay. So I'm gonna start typing right here. So we want to know again, what's m? M equals what? So let's try to get our equation in that order. And we're gonna remember the order of operations at all times. So what's the first thing we do? Anyone can speak.
We combine like terms.
Yep. What are the like terms that we combine, Brianna?
From the left, we can combine anything from the left side. So in the right side, we can do 4m plus m, and then leave the one aside.
That's right. So looks like this is going to stay the same. So just bring this down here. So this is the left side of the equation. There are no like terms. Brianna was right. We know there are no like terms because there's only one term that has the m attached to it. So this 4 does not have an m attached, so it's not like 5m. So we're just going to copy the left side of the equation. Now on the right side, what do I type out? What do I have once I combine like terms?
5. Oh.
Go ahead.
5m plus 1.
Yep. I have 5m plus 1. I have 5m plus 1 because remember, if you just see one variable or a letter, that's what we call the letters in algebra, we call them variables. If you see a variable or a letter in algebra by itself, you know that it's automatically being multiplied by 1. So just treat it like that. So 4m plus 1m plus 1 gives me 5m plus 1. Now, we can actually stop right here and answer the question. Does anyone disagree? Is anyone confused about that? You can say if you're confused, don't be shy. Okay, I'll explain a little further anyway. We can stop right here because we see, again, we always want to pay attention to the equal sign. What's on each side of the equal sign? Whatever's on one side of the equal sign has to be equal to what's on the other side. So 4 plus 5m equals 5m plus 1. I'm going to rewrite this so it's in the same order. I'm going to put the variables first and then the numbers, the constants. So the variables, again, the letters, 5m plus 4. So that's the same as 4 plus 5m, it's the same value. And then 5m plus 1. So it's in the same order. So, sorry. If 5m plus 4 equals something Well, let's see. What we have in common on each side of the equal sign, we have 5m. 5m here and 5m here. So that's going to have the same value. But the next number we have is +4 on the left side and +1 on the right side. So we know that this equation is not true. It has no solutions. How we can check that is we could substitute 0 for m. So let's say m equals 0. We're going to try and see. So we have 5 times 0 plus 4 equals 5 times 0 plus 1. So that simplifies down to 4 equals 1. And 4 does not equal 1. 4 equals 4 and 1 equals 1. So that's how we know that once we get to this step right here, we have the answer, because we can just look at what variables we have on one side of the equation and what we have on the other side. And then if you're ever confused, you can check the algebra by substituting with a simple number like 0 or 1. See, I figured that out by just doing 0. 0 times anything is 0, of course. So that's a really easy way to check your work. So the answer to this is the equation has no solutions because 4 does not equal 1, sorry. 4 equals 4, 1 equals 1. Alrighty, so I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. I'm going to go to, okay. For those that joined a little later, this is my Google Classroom code. So I have a few people who joined already. That way we can communicate to each other. You can also communicate, well, I can communicate with you and you can kind of communicate with each other. Post questions. If you're having a particularly hard time with some practice problems, you can maybe post it in the chat and we can see if we can get to it the next week. I should have linked the Khan Academy account too, so I can see everyone's progress with everything. If that doesn't work, let me know and I'll just fix it. So this is the Google Classrooms link, or code rather.
I don't see the Khan Academy link.
Okay, I'll have to go in. It said it added it, but I will have to go in after and fiddle around with it and make sure. Thank you for telling me. So I will stop sharing. Hi, Ahmad. Oh, sorry guys, I'm just not seeing these chat questions. Edmund, when you said, can you show the problem, do you want me to email you or were you just speaking about showing you the problem at that moment? Probably at that moment, I have the answer to that. Oh yeah, you asked that a while ago, sorry. So Divya, I see you're asking about the Khan Academy, so I'll look into that after we finish our session. Ahmed, what grade are you in, Ahmed? I don't know if you're there.
I have a question.
Sure.
So will the recorded sessions be posted on Google Classroom?
That's a good question. I didn't think about that. I think they can be. Isaac?
They put the link on the
I'm here.
email.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Divya, what did you say? I'm sorry.
I said they put the link on the email too. So when they sent it, like they said that the classes will be recorded and posted on the college readiness landing page.
Okay, I didn't even get that email. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. So all of the sessions, you guys can refer back to it on the college readiness page, and also on the Facebook page. So there's this session will be uploaded on the Facebook page as well.
Thank you, Divya. You're fast. Okay, I'm going to share the code for the Google Classroom as well. And I'll probably put my email or put this code on the college readiness site as well, in case that doesn't work. So yes, I'll be making sure that we can get to the Khan Academy stuff through Google Classroom. So I'm going to do that after we log off today. I will also send you guys an itinerary, some suggestions and stuff. And remember, if you have a particular area you want to cover more, just let me know and I'll work it into the next session. Also, if you have really, tricky questions that you need help with, same thing, let me know. So we're going to meet here next week, same time. And I will say I'm going to have, just to reiterate for people who might have joined a little later, we'll start with the topics we're going to cover for that session. And Divya, we are going to get into reading and stuff. I wanted to start with math because we had to set up stuff first and get comfortable. And I know math is like, really intimidating. Doesn't have to be with practice, like Isaac said. I've had my struggles too, but so I wanted to start off with that just so everyone can kind of get the gears going on that. But we'll cover everything that the SAT covers. So also for those that joined us a little later, I spoke in the beginning about getting a Khan Academy site, which you probably already have, and enrolling in the SAT course, which I should have linked to the Google Classroom, but I will double check after we end. And starting off with some practice quizzes or a practice test. You don't have to take the test all in one setting. You can break it up, so you don't have to feel like you have to take this huge test all in one setting. Break it up, do 15 to 20 minutes a day. Just try to get it out of the way. 24 hours in a day, I think you can manage it. So,
Why do you think taking a practice test would be a good idea?
I'm glad that you asked. Taking a practice test is a good idea because it lets you know your areas to focus in. So if you don't do well in the practice test, don't look at it negatively and don't feel like overwhelmed. It's good that you're taking a practice test because it lets you know where you need to improve. So we have plenty of time to improve. You guys can email me, all that good stuff. So don't feel discouraged by your practice test. It just lets you know where you need to spend a little more time. So yeah, we're gonna start with that. I'm open to any of your suggestions. Let me know, any comments or anything you have respectfully, okay? So thanks everyone for showing up. Again, we'll do this the same time next Saturday.
Thank you.
No
All right.
problem.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.
All right,
No
thank
problem.
you.
You're welcome.